Older houses were built to last, which is why they are so precious. New houses not only lack soul and individuality, but they lack the craftsmanship of older homes. These are the 50 old home features that have faded into history. Number 50, stained glass windows. Genuine question, what's up with the trippy colors on cats recently? I mean, I'm not complaining. Quite the opposite. Who doesn't want to see their cat in 100 different colors? Stained glass is definitely in the spotlight in the Grand Hotel in Mexico City. They have some cool stories about the place, including 2 James Bond movies that have been filmed there. We think the trend is turning weirder now with all the new "Your Body is a Temple" folks going around. I don't want to guess what stained glass will look like in 2029. And just so you know, this is not wearable. You can put it on your head the same way you can do it with a frying pan. Number 49, big front porches. You are chilling on this rocking chair on your big front porch with this scene. What a beautiful view to have every day. What would you give to live in a nice old house exactly like the one pictured here and sit on the front porch on a nice summer evening, listening to the buzz of the cicadas while watching the sunset? Only those of us who long for a place like this will understand. Can you even be nostalgic for something you have never had? The biggest issue I have with this big front porch is this isn't my place. Absolutely flawless.
It's a different kind of material than usual front door mat, so it's made to last a lot longer.
Number 48, laundry chute. Before comic heroes became a thing, there were kids who would jump down the chute in a laundry basket and land on a big heap of clothes at the bottom. We aren't totally sold on this idea. The hard part isn't bringing the laundry down the stairs, it's bringing it back upstairs. If I had to buy a new home and were designing a home today, or if I were renovating an older home today, I wouldn't install a laundry chute. I'd simply put the laundry on the same floor as the bedrooms, or I'd love to build a dumbwaiter inside the chute so laundry can be transported back up to the second floor, or if I wanted to flex. I would build a vacuum-powered laundry chute that transports laundry from any room to the laundry room and wait for my wife to ask me, "Honey, have you seen the cat lately?" Number 47, closed kitchens. Those who traveled abroad know an open kitchen may be an American thing. Some kitchens in London, for example, are closed off, which is perfect because cooking smells don't stink up the entire house. They used to be more cut off from other rooms, but parents want to be able to see kids playing or doing homework while cooking. Hosts don't want to be away from parties when entertaining. Everybody ends up congregating in the kitchen so often anyway that many people prefer the kitchen to be open to living areas. Houses from the 1930s to the 1940s and 1950s were more closed off, smaller rooms.
I happen to love a traditional kitchen. One of the things that I like about a traditional kitchen is that it's separate from the dining space,
including kitchen, dining, living rooms. This was due to a number of things, but among the reasons was heating and cooling small rooms was easier. Things opened up a bit in the 1960s and 1970s as more modern furnace and AC became more common, and double-paned windows, etc. were available. By the 1980s and 1990s, open floor plans were more common and popular. Today, open floor plans are basically the default. Number 46, full house fan. There are mixed opinions on this, but many absolutely vouch for it, using the whole house fan nightly when the Delta breeze cools us off enough. It's great to blow out the attic after a weekend away, nice to exhaust cooking smells in minutes, and if you have a handy friend, it is an easy install. If you want a particular room cooled, you open the window for that room. The fan basically sucks outside air through the windows and pulls it into the attic, which forces hot air out. Cool attic equals cool home. Number 45, high ceilings. This looks like where you would stay if you took a vacation to the original Jurassic Park. This high ceiling kitchen isn't exactly old, but I can smell fresh coffee and feel the warmth of morning light just looking at this picture. When I see construction like this, I always wonder what it would cost today to recreate such stonework. You really don't know until you are physically in a space how it makes you feel.
Home with high ceilings, and I'd like to know how to address the high ceilings and also any paint color.
How everything works together, especially being that we are looking at one single shot of a space. Number 44, picture rails. Picture rails have to be one of our favorite old house features. Their multi-purpose use is what makes them a missed feature. Picture rails definitely have a cult following, and it saves the walls from all sorts of damages and renovations. It looks like the best when the old and modern are mixed, plus it can always be removed anytime you want. Number 43, transom windows. What's better than a transom window? A stained glass transom window, of course. At some point in your life, you've probably come across a transom window. They were around for some 7 centuries, after all, although finding them around these days is pretty rare. A transom window was the perfect feature to light up the house, and some houses even had transom windows in all of the interior doors so you could open them and create a breeze for those perfect days. Also, it turns out it was quite liked by the pets as well, who would often treat it like their own little special door. Number 42, wall-mounted ironing boards. Legend says that if you've ever renovated your house, your chances of coming across an ironing board in your walls are never zero like this poor sucker here. An in-wall ironing board cabinet was a fantastic solution that not only saved space, but also kept your laundry area organized and stylish. They were especially found near to the kitchens and would often be used by kids as a makeshift dining table.
Reclaim your space and banish wrinkles with the Ovation wall-mounted ironing board. Perfect for small homes.
And for the adults, it was always a handy tool to be converted into a fold-down whiskey bar. Number 41, servant staircases. Imagine a person just pops out of the wall with a serving tray and you didn't even know there was a hidden door. Such was the purpose of these hidden servant staircases in huge mansions. But stairs were also very expensive, so the servants got tiny, cramped, and poorly lit stairs in back passageways, out of sight of the blessed wealthy. Servants falling and getting badly injured was common. Navigating these tall stairs with trays full of food and drinks must have turned those servants into Olympic athletes. Number 40, dumbwaiter. No, a dumbwaiter isn't that waiter who keeps getting your orders wrong. It actually used to be a house feature reserved for the elite who could afford cooks and proper staff. A dumbwaiter is essentially a miniature elevator operated with a pulley system. They were designed to transport food and other necessities between floors in large houses. Dumbwaiters really stopped being installed into houses due to newer fire codes. They were a conduit that allowed house fires to spread very easily. You can still find abandoned spaces in old houses these days, but the elevators will always be missing. Number 39, kitchen fireplaces. Imagine coming home on a cold, chilly winter evening and getting a wildly hot fire going in your cozy fireplace, letting it burn to the coals and throwing a steak right on the coals. Nothing quite as good as one of those. And if you're feeling adventurous,
precisely control the heat of your cooking surfaces by burning small pieces of wood in the ember generator. Hot embers will fall through onto the base of the fire.
You could always turn your kitchen into a pizzeria by turning your kitchen fireplace into a pizza oven. Kitchen fireplaces remained a centerpiece in old house architecture and proved themselves to be a cheaper alternative to central heating. You just had to make sure your pets didn't get too friendly with it, or they'd practically spend their whole lives sleeping next to one. Number 38, push-button light switches. Back in the old days, everything from the intercom to the doorbell was operated with the help of a single tiny button, which had such a satisfying click when they worked. Plus, they also had that flash letting one know that tiny demons being trapped in those wires and they do our bidding, but wish to get out and kill us if they can. When they first came out, they were originally a source for wonder and anxiety, both as people weren't exactly accustomed to electrical appliances. People who grew up with these buttons as children can clearly remember playing around with these things, although it wasn't exactly safe. Number 37, pocket doors. If you've ever watched old Japanese movies and wondered why American homes don't have the same sliding doors, you're not alone. But it turns out those sliding doors did exist in old houses in the form of pocket doors. A pocket door is typically a sliding door which disappears completely into a section within your walls if you open them. No more annoying hinge doors getting in your way or stubbing your toes.
Bit of a love-hate relationship when it comes to pocket doors. You had to have a really top-notch finish carpenter to get it.
They eventually went out of use because of how expensive it was to install and upkeep them. Number 36, pull-out cutting boards. Every kitchen in the 1800s would have a pull-out cutting board to make a busy housewife's life easier. You might think its purpose is obvious, but we're here to burst your bubble. These sliding boards weren't originally meant to be cutting boards at all. Their original purpose wasn't just cutting vegetables, but instead they were used as bread boards and practically served as a platform for kneading and slicing bread. Some of them even came in with a trash can compartment, so you didn't have to worry about the leftovers decorating your kitchen floor after you're done. Number 35, speaking tubes. Huge mansions and estates in New England and other states used to have a system of tubes throughout the house. These tubes were actually the most primitive form of intercoms, which helped owners call out for the housemaids instead of walking all the way to the other end of the house. Whenever a person was alerted, that person would twist a small handle, open the valve, and then begin conversing when the other person put an ear to their end. The biggest problem of owning one? Getting pranked by a kid who'd fart on the other end. Yuck! Number 34, porte cochere. When horse carriages dotted the streets in England and France, homeowners would splurge extra on installing a carriage entrance to their homes. The roofed structure, which extends from the entrance of a building over an adjacent driveway or courtyard, provided a bit of ceremony as well as functionality. The comical thing about this is hearing how badly some people mangle and mispronounce the name because, trust me,
the window design, the porte cochere. I had to look it up, I had to write it out, and I had to say it over and over again.
It'll take you a while until you're fluent in saying porte cochere. Number 33, vestibules. Tired of tracking in mud with you after walking in from the rain? Well, old houses literally had a room just to save you from this menace called mudrooms. A mudroom is a small enclosed entry chamber that traditionally has served as a buffer in winter between indoors and outdoors to trap air and minimize heat loss. It was also a great place to drop off boots, jackets, and umbrellas during snow or rain. Think of the mudroom as an airlock between your clean home and the swampy disaster that is the outside world. Number 32, poison cabinets. Okay, we'll admit nobody knows what they're called, but they were popularly known as poison cabinets because of their height, where you could store all the chemicals away from the little ones. In older houses, with wood-burning stoves, they would have exhaust that directly connected to the chimney. When they were no longer in use, they often became shelves or small cupboards. They were extremely common in New England. Some kids would even call it the little attic and take it as a challenge to reach it one day. Number 31, breakfast nooks. Old houses were all about the grandeur that involves every single part of your life, including breakfast. That's why built-in breakfast nooks were a popular item in the early 1920s, and especially so in Victorian homes. It wasn't just a nook, though. It was a throne room for cereal enthusiasts. Just sitting in one with your family would give you that warm, cozy feeling of being in a safe space.
A breakfast nook is a small space, often enclosed on 3 sides and located near or off the kitchen.
Chanel even came up with the weirdest design for a breakfast nook, which would definitely ruin your appetite if you ever had one. Number 30, birdcage elevators. There comes a time in every homeowner's life when stairs are just too much and an elevator seems like just the thing for their house. Well, old homes used to have actual elevators in them called birdcage elevators. Birdcage elevators became popular around the turn of the 20th century. They consisted of rounded or square cars with metal frames that allowed passengers to look out at the interior of the building as they rode between floors. It's the only form of transportation where you feel both fancy and slightly unsafe at the same time. Number 29, butler's pantry. Whenever someone says butler's pantry, think of a kitchen within a kitchen because apparently you can't have enough of those. It used to be a space for meal prep, extra storage, and was a dream when entertaining guests. You could just hide your dirty dishes while you're busy socializing. It used to be the perfect hideout for lazy waitstaff. Some butlers' pantries would even contain an extra sink. Others would be more like a walk-in pantry for food and utensil storage. Some would go all out and contain a second oven and fridge. Number 28, wall sconces. Wall sconces were a very common feature in the 1980s. It was a way of having an outlet for the Philco without wiring the floor for sockets. Houses back then had the electrical sockets in the floor, in brass-covered electrical boxes. although I'm pretty sure a fire hazard is more likely if you design anything like that.
The wall sconces are great for indoor decoration, such as the dining room, living area, corridor, cafeteria, basement, kitchen, dining room, and office.
They existed purely to make you feel like you live in a castle, even if you just rent a one-bedroom apartment. Number 27, bay windows. Bay windows are basically walls made out of glass, if you were being honest. So that would make them every introvert's nightmare, right? They consisted of one picture window and two smaller windows on the sides, and you'd usually find them at the front of a home or in a kitchen or living room. They were the front row seats to the theater of the world and every cat's favorite place, just to stare into the soul of every person walking outside. They were a classic hack to turn any boring room into the heart of the house. Number 26, twist doorbell. The hand-turned mechanical doorbell is one of the most fanciful and engaging pieces of hardware ever created for the home. As a visitor turns the handle on the outside of the door, the bell on the inside resonates with a charming ring-a-ling sound. It reminds you of a rotary phone, kind of like how it would ding when you hit a number. Using these mechanical bells is so satisfying, it makes you question, why did they fade into history? Number 25, skylights. Before the advent of electricity, skylights were the talk of the town and everyone wanted as many as they could fit inside their homes. Thomas Jefferson himself had 13 skylights in his house, so the whole place would be flooded with natural light. But opening up a huge hole in your roof brought tons of other problems with itself. Most of them had leaking issues and would often ventilate cold air in the winter, which is why they've become unpopular over the years.
Let's say you have an interior spot in your house that you are not able to incorporate a vertical window or even a skylight, but it's extremely dark and you would love some natural light.
Number 24, turrets. I'm sure you're just as surprised as we are. Turrets. Well, they should be in a damn castle. Well, Victorian houses were nothing short of castles, and they wanted all the vibes to feel just the same. Because of their history, people who have turrets on their houses can pretend that they are a king or queen in their own homes. Number 23, root cellars. No refrigerators in the 1800s meant that people had to go prehistoric when it came to storing food. Root cellars then became a vital part of homes as the underground nature of them provided the optimum temperature to store fruit and vegetables. After refrigerators came around, these root cellars turned into wine storages, and for kids, it was either the perfect hiding spot or that nightmarish dark room in their grandparents' basement where all kinds of monsters lived. Many abandoned root cellars have been repurposed as storm cellars in areas with frequent tornadoes and such. Number 22, built-in storage benches. Saving space is one of the most important missions of a homeowner, and they'll literally find any place they can to stuff all of their junk in, even benches. These built-in storage benches were the perfect blend of comfort and utility. It's the only seat in the house that's silently judging how much random junk you own. Number 21, cedar-lined closets. People who own a lot of natural fiber or wool clothes just absolutely hate moths and how easily they can get into your closets. Old homes fix this with lining the insides of the closets with cedar wood. The tart scent of cedar may smell fresh and natural to humans, but it smells like trouble to insects, especially moths.
The aroma of the cedar is a natural deterrent to pests, such as moths.
And it was way better than those using those stinky mothballs. Over the years, as fashion changed and people stopped finding their clothes riddled with holes, cedar lining disappeared as well. Number 20, wrap-around porches. Before AC, it was pretty common for houses in warm climates to have wrap-around porches that would allow for cool places to gather and also let you to keep windows open even during rainstorms. Just imagine a humid as hell rainstorm and closing the whole house up. People also used to gather on the porch to watch the street, chat, catch up on gossip, etc., and have an evening stroll that was pretty common. Television moved a lot of people inside. Number 19, slate roof. Like an old cliche, slate is literally as old as the hills. But installing these roofs would cost you quite a penny. No wonder nobody can afford these anymore. Only the highest quality and purest slate is used for roofing, and it took nature 450 to 600 million years to perfect. It was worth the price though, as these slate roofs survived for 100 years after they'd been installed, which is why you can still find most British homes with these roofs today. The slate tiles were also highly resistant to rain, wind, and other weather elements, making them a practical choice for the UK's unpredictable weather. Number 18, picture rails. What's one of the most successful jobs when you're redecorating your house? Rearranging your paintings, right? Well, back in the day, they had just the feature to stop you from poking 100 nails in your walls. Introducing the picture rail.
The traditional picture rail hangers are a high quality and flexible solution for use with traditional picture rails.
They are aesthetically pleasing and make it so easier to hang several pictures in vertical lines, and none of the pictures are directly fixed to the wall. To this day, modern homeowners discover the actual use of these picture rails after living with them for years, and once they do, they just can't stop redecorating their spaces. Number 17, milk doors. In the puritanical eras of the 18th and 19th century, God forbid you have a milkman interacting with a housewife who was home alone, so houses were built with integrated milk delivery doors. Most of them had an indicator to help the milkman understand how much milk you wanted, but some milk chutes required you to leave a note for the milkman. Some dairies even had an order form that was left with the milk. You checked the boxes for what you wanted and left it in the box. Number 16, phone niche. When landlines and big heavy telephones used to be a big thing, every house came with a phone nook or a phone niche. Every corridor had one of these small platforms just in reach for those gossipy adults who would spend days standing next to it. They often came with a small shelf underneath where you'd keep your phone book and personal address books. Once the telephones were removed, all sorts of things found their way to the phone nook, from being used as a charging station to this cat's personal nook. A cat nook, if we're being honest. Number 15, boot scraper. In the days before automobiles, when streets were meant for horses and their carts mostly, walking through mud and excrement was an unavoidable part of life.
Actually, I got two of them, one for the back door, one for the front door. These shoe cleaners, they do have a rubber little thing on the back.
And that meant walking around with shoes caked in mud. Thankfully, you had one of these ready to greet you at the entrance of your home things. Boot scrapers were an essential part of city houses in the Victorian era. Made of cast iron or wrought iron, all they wanted was to lick every speck of mud and dirt off your shoes. These days, the only place you could find one is in a construction site. Number 14, intercom. At a time when it was considered bad manners to shout indoors, intercoms took over as the go-to medium to communicate inside houses. Mainly it was just the perfect toy for children who would spend hours talking or singing to each other over them. It was practically the house-wide gossip line, but with really bad connection if your unit broke down, and they used to break down all the time. Over time, many other gadgets replaced the intercoms like Alexa or the mobile phones. Number 13, Dutch doors. Dutch doors may seem like a concept from a fever dream. I mean, who wants a door split in half, right? But it was actually a pretty genius concept. It was originally used to keep livestock out and the children in, while allowing for ventilation and light. They're now used, though, with a security feature in mind. If there's a stranger at the door, you can open just the top part. You can talk with them and hand them stuff, but they can't easily come inside. Having a split door also allowed more natural light and fresh air in at a time when glass windows were expensive and small. Number 12, shutters. Shutters have been around for a very long time. They even predate glass. When the walls of structures were made out of brick and stone, the shutters used to be on the interior of the windows.
Custom shutters from Sunburst are the most durable for sliders. They slide out of the way for full use of the door.
They served as the only way to shut out the bad weather and wildlife alike. The popular opinion used to be solid shutters downstairs for privacy and louvered blinds upstairs for maximum sunlight and airflow. They used to be called the eyelids of the house, open during the day and closed when the house was sleeping at night. Number 11, carriage houses. Victorian mansions will always have a tiny shed-like house right next to them, which are the remnants of a bygone era where man still depended on horses to travel around. Elegant four-wheel carriages were the popular choice for wealthier families. Because people needed a place to safely store their buggies when not in use, they built smaller houses next to their homes. They're like garages for cars, but slightly bigger and often with more elaborate ornamentation. Number 10, mail slots. The mail slot has enjoyed a long run as a front door staple, and the image of the friendly neighborhood mail carrier sliding letters through the slot still persists to this day. However, with the rise of online bill payment and the decline of the USPS, mail slots so sleek and secure are no longer ubiquitous. Number 9. Basement showers and toilets. Ever go into a basement of an old house and come across a random lonesome toilet in a corner? They used to be quite common back in the day. Older periods had basements with toilets in them for a good reason, because sewage backups were common in pre-war times. So installing a toilet at ground level could be disastrous. It's often referred to as the Pittsburgh potty because there are so many of them in that city.
Looked like something from the 1970s. There was a tub that wasn't used because I don't think anybody really wanted to come down and use this washroom.
Number 8. Coal chutes. In yesteryear, most homes used coal for heating, a method outdated by today's central heating technology. Many late 19th century and early 20th century homes still have this odd feature on an outside wall. Coal delivery men traveled door to door to provide people the fuel they needed to power their furnace. They shoveled coal through the small door and down the chute into the basement. The problem is that they could let in damp or cold air, a headache for new homeowners. Number 7. Razor slit in medicine cabinets. The bathroom medicine cabinet reveals much about its owner, though in some old houses it could unearth dozens of used razor blades. Chances are, if you live in an old home, your bathroom walls may be filled with them. Decades ago, medicine cabinets had a tiny slit to dispose of old razor blades. Where might those dirty razor blades go? Nowhere, really. They merely went into the wall. Out of sight, out of mind. Number 6. Servant floor button. These things must have been invented by some guy with really deaf servants because clearly there's no reason these should have been a thing. These devices were the stuff of high society, designed for paging servants. One tap of the floor button would prompt the help to clear the dishes and get ready for the next course. Number 5. Ice door. How can we complain in the modern age when, at the very least, we can create ice in an appliance connected to the wall? Those in older days had to wait until the Iceman cometh again. He would drop his product through an ice door connected to the larder or pantry.
Locate the ice maker inside the left side refrigerator door. Open the icebox door and remove the ice bucket to access the ice maker.
These doors are often called the cousins of milk doors because they look and almost serve the same purpose. Number 4. Butler bellboards. The connection between domestic staff instrumentation and the old home is strong. It tells the tale of a time in America when every household had the unfortunate toiling away in their kitchens. The perfect symbol for this relationship is the servant bell, still seen in some old homes. Like its floor button counterpart, the servant bell was a tool for hailing the servant staff. Number 3. Peepholes. Peepholes were the ultimate solution to the struggle of being extra cautious whenever an unannounced guest found themselves knocking at your door. Versions of peepholes have been found around for centuries, but they were extra popular by the 20th century. They allow the person inside the home to look out and see who's visiting, both facilitating fuller conversations and providing some security. Number 2. Landline phone jacks. Landline phones have left us, but their jacks are still reminders of the good old times when people weren't stuck to their phone screens all day and instead relied on a single telephone to ring someone up. Take a look around your dated apartment or home. How many unused phone jacks are there in the walls? Once essential, today you'd be hard-pressed to find someone using all those phone jacks. Number 1. Frosted glass doors. While some people may love the thought of appearing as a silhouette while using the bathroom, it isn't for all of us.
Our frosted glass exterior doors are available in a huge range of designs, from a half-glazed, third-glazed or full-length glass door.
Unless you like the idea of living in an Alfred Hitchcock movie, frosted screen doors are a thing of the past. These were the 50 very old home features that have faded into history. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the future videos.